council hall, and there is a meeting going on that I am running late for with Assemblyman Tom Lackey, who is the representative here in Rosamond. I really wanted to be here because there's a number of things going wrong with our town here. We just don't have a lot of representation. We don't have a lot of police, and so I'm very interested in hearing what he has to say. Hopefully they'll let me do this live. There are a good number of people here. I don't even know if I can change this midstream, being forward facing versus rear facing. I don't know. We will find out. But in any case, I'm sure this is not going to be the most exciting thing here. But who knows? Maybe we'll find out some exciting news. Stand by and we will find out. All right, let me put this on here. Okay. Open door slowly. It's a lot of people. Hi. Do we have to sign in or anything? Yes. Okay.
Let you talk.
We're District 36. I didn't even know what district we were. I got something in the mail and said, that the Republican Party was recommending someone else for District 34. I'm like, why am I getting something for District 34?
Well, there's extra one. Thank you. Thank you. Miss Anna.
Perfect, thank you. So, did you come up with one of you or no? Okay. It's just a brand. That's all. Yeah. Yeah. Because we would introduce you to John and Miss. Like an inspiration. Yeah. White yolk. Yeah.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, you are with?
I'm just me, myself, and I.
Oh, okay. Did you sign in?
Yes, I did.
Thank you so much for being here. We are thrilled to be able to host this community coffee today and look forward to your questions and the Assemblyman's update. And you see we have an illustrious panel up front. We are very grateful for their support. Today we have, in no particular order, as it was written quickly, Sergeant Tanner Miller from the Kern County Sheriff's Department. Lieutenant Commander Maria Pagano from CHP. Salvador Batista from CHP. From the Kern County Fire Department, Chief Billy Steers. Fire Battalion Chief Brandon Asher. We are so grateful. And we are going to ask Miss Rosamond to come up and lead the invocation.
Hello, everyone. As she said, I'm Isabel Hignet, your Miss Rosamond 2022. If we can all bow our heads and close our eyes. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for that everyone here got here safely. Thank you for this great day. I pray that everything goes smoothly, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I would like to ask, I need to also introduce Nisa Vasquez, Team Miss Rosamond 2022, and Katie Jorgensen, Junior Miss Rosamond. Appreciate them here to help and support. I'd like to ask now Bill Parkman, President of the RMAC, to come up and lead us in the pledge.
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And it's my pleasure to turn this meeting over to Assemblyman Lackey.
We're going to introduce the elected officials. Do we have any?
I did good.
Yes, you're the man.
I'm sorry, are there any other elected officials here that I missed? Oh,
There's two of us. I'm Bob Pixlett. I'm on the, I'm vice president of the school board.
wonderful.
And we have another school board member here as well.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here.
Well, welcome everybody. It's nice to be back here amongst you again. And this is the first time we've been back together since the pandemic. It was a pretty wicked time. I don't know if you know or not, but it hit me hard. I was one of the unfortunate ones to get it early, even though I thought I was taking precautions, but the vaccine wasn't available at that time, and it almost took me out. It really came close. I was hospitalized for 9 days, and came close to being ventilated. So thank heavens I didn't go that way. God is good to me, and I'm very thankful. And yeah, I'm here, and you are too. So that's a good thing. We all survived it, and I'm very thankful. Time to move on and get back to normal again. For those who are attending a coffee for the first time, welcome. I want you to know that community interaction is really one of the important elements that I think has become missing in many communities. And having been raised in Boron, and I know you folks know where Boron is, at least you better know where Boron is. You know it's a small town. I never saw elected officials there other than my local elected officials. And we just did it our own way. And in some aspects that's good, but anyways, I think it's important to interact. And I've done, as I said, this is over 50 of these since I've been elected. And I do them in small communities, I do them in the populated communities, I do them everywhere. The fact is, this is, in the last 2 weeks, this is about our third or fourth one. We got three more, and at least 2 more tomorrow. Because I believe in them. I believe that you should have the ability to have FaceTime if you so choose with those you vote for. And it doesn't mean that you and I will always agree, but if we don't, then you deserve to understand why we don't. And the other thing that's starting to happen, worse than I've ever seen it in my lifetime, is that people start to become angry with people just because they have a different viewpoint. And I think that that's really a threat to democracy. We need to learn to accept people's differences, and we need to not silo up, because once we start doing that, we empower the wrong people. And I believe that we need to do better. And so this is my way of trying to help people understand that interaction is healthy. And we should not hate someone just because they have a different point of view. And that's my opinion, and I feel like it's really, really dangerous. And I hope that we can all, even if we disagree here, not walk away with bad feelings toward another person just because they have a different perspective. And I'm very proud. In case you don't know much about me, I wore that uniform right there for 28 years. Very proud of that service. And it's something that's really given me an opportunity to understand people. Because in that profession, you serve the entire society, from the wealthiest to the struggling, to the high educated to the lesser educated. The entire spectrum all use motor vehicles. And it's just part of our society, and I know that there's kind of a movement to change that. But those of us who live in rural areas, we depend on that. We depend on the ability to be mobile. And we need to try to do everything we can to protect that, in my opinion. in a responsible way, but nonetheless, let's not eliminate our ability to move about. I'm currently the vice chair of the Public Safety Committee and Local Government Committee, and I think they've assigned me those two leadership positions because of my experience. I was on the school board for 6 years. Ooh, was that quite an experience? I would tell you that I was on a 3-2 board. It's a very tumultuous times. We had bulging enrollment circumstances to declining enrollment. And if you know much about public education, it's based on that. So we had calendar changes, we had reductions in force, which means people being let go. Very, very, very tumultuous. And I learned a lot about engagement and governance and emotions. And emotions are real, and they're very, very powerful, and they're important to be listened to. And that's something that I will never regret, the fact that I had that learning experience. I'm going to tell you some of the things that I've accomplished, but this is not a session for me just to bloviate and tell you how great I am and why I'm the best thing since sliced bread. That's what some people do. Some elected officials will tell you how great they are. I feel lucky. I mean, come on, let's be honest. From Boron, being in the legislature, whoever thought that would ever be possible? I never sought it. I never did. I never really pushed for it. Opportunities just came before me. And I feel very, very fortunate, and I respect the position, I think, more than most. And every day, I'm reminded of how lucky I am to have this huge responsibility. Each one of us assembly members, there are 80 in the assembly and 40 in the Senate, and we represent 40 million people. Shrinking a little bit because California is doing some weird stuff and people are hightailing it out of here. And it's for the first time ever, we lost a congressional seat, folks. And I will tell you that it isn't that the weather's getting worse, it's our public policy is getting to be out of control, in my opinion. And I'm part of the minority party, and I'm not ashamed to say that I'm a Republican, although it's like having the scarlet letter R when you're in the Capitol, because some people think I'm a hater, some people think I'm uncaring, some people think that whatever they stereotype Republicans as. Party affiliation is just one of the defining elements of who we are, right? And I think we need to be careful on partisanship and how much emphasis we place on that. What we need to place our emphasis on is liberty, freedom, and the things that we all want. We all want that. People in the Democratic Party want that. People in the Republican Party want that. We believe there's a different way of arriving at that. Some believe in a stronger government, some believe in a less stronger government. I happen to be on the side of the less stronger government because I believe that's what individual liberty is about. So please don't misunderstand who I am, and please know that I take this role very serious every day. And I'm very, very proud of the things we've done. I've been the underdog in every election, every one. And I don't know how, well, I do know how. I have really good people working for me. And we are very sincere, and I think a lot of times elected officials are more defined by what they do in their community than what they do in Sacramento. And that has been, I think, my strongest point. For example, we had this COVID situation, and how did any of you here have to work with EDD at all? I hope you did not, because they were a mess. And that was the understatement of the day. People were laid off, had no employment through no fault of their own, and they relied on government assistance to replace that income. And the agency that was put in charge of distributing that money, that a lot of it came from the federal government, not necessarily from the state government, but it had to come through the EDD department. And they were not ready for it. It was complete dysfunction. We had stories of people that were waiting months and months, that were living in their cars, and they're about to get ready to have their cars repossessed. It was devastatingly hurtful. We became the EDD in our office. We were the ones that were actually pushing the buttons, making the phone calls, getting the checks, but not in a timely manner, because we also had difficulties. But nonetheless, that is what elected office is for. We're there to help you manage through government responsibilities. Department of Motor Vehicles sometimes can be difficult to work with. And so come through us. If you're having difficulty with them, let us be your partner. And that's where we've been strong. And I'm very, very proud of the fact that we've been so successful there, and I attribute that's why I'm still in office. We had something weird just happen in the redistricting lines. We're going to be changing the district number from 36 to 34. Not that that means anything, but it did mean something because they merged us with a different district and they carved out the Hispanic portion of two districts, which basically goes to Hesperia and part of Victorville and that region over there, all the way to the east part of the 14 in Antelope Valley. And they created what was called the Voting Rights Act District, which is over 50% Hispanic. And whether you like that or not, that's what they felt was appropriate, and so that's what we got. And so, yeah, our district lines will now change. We'll go all the way to Nevada. And we're just shy of Ridgecrest. I think we still get Trona. And then a lot of desert. A lot of desert. And there's a lot of lizards in our district. We really we grew in lizard population for sure. But that's just a piece of information. Some of the things I've accomplished, I do want to tell you some of the things so you can feel confident to know that we do have some legislative boom. Funding for rape kit testing. The Department of Justice reported that we had, and this was alarming to me, over 14,000 untested rape kits. Think about how awful the crime of rape is to a victim. And then think about what they have to go through to provide the evidence for the rape test kit. It's humiliating. It's awful. And then, after going through all of that, to know that that test kit just sat on a shelf somewhere. I think that that is an injustice to victims. I think that that's an irresponsible circumstance for government, a betrayal of trust. And so we pushed that. We pushed it super hard to the point where we got legislation passed that awarded $4 million to make sure that they can't say they don't have the money anymore. We provided the funding for it to make sure that those kits get evaluated and followed up on, and we're going to be watching it. Just because they got the money, just because we passed the bill, doesn't mean it's going to move. So we're going to be watching it very, very closely, and we're very, very proud of that. We also made some clarity on driving under the influence blood test kits and what was required there. We provided some clarity on that piece. I feel very, very confident, and that's a priority for me because of my own personal experience as a highway patrol sergeant for most of my career, and working the graveyard shift 20 of my 28 years. And so impaired driving was a big priority, and I saw so much tragedy and a lot of needless death, in all honesty. More than my share. I made 40 death notifications in my career, and they were all in the Antelope Valley. 40. That's to show you how bad we have it. I don't think a lot of you realize, you think because it's so spread out that we don't have as much death. Well, that's not true. In LA County, just down the way a little bit, we are one of the leaders in that tragic circumstance. Another thing I'm very proud of is the Homeless and Foster Youth Apprenticeship Partnership. One of the things that we have out here in the San Luis Valley region is a huge population of we have kids that just really have it tough, in all truth. And it's really not fair, but as a society, we're trying to do what we can to support them. And one of the things that happens is once you turn 18, folks, foster's over. And guess what you got as a support network now? You got zip. You got nothing. And so what we've tried to do is link up apprenticeships, because apprenticeships are really the career technical education link right now. And they're provided primarily by labor. And they provide trainings. They provide a way for, it's basically you get paid to be trained. It's hard work, it's academically challenging, but it leads to a career. And we're very, very thankful for our success in providing that link to foster youth to actually have a link with a successful career opportunity. Such a missing part of that whole foster care system, and we're very, very proud of being able to do that. We also had a big audit that was very, very successful on examining some of the problems with the Department of Children and Family Services. We all know, I mean, I don't know if you don't know, but you should know that we have Gabriel Fernandez story. That's not anything to be proud of, folks. That is such a horrendous affront against humanity. What happened to that poor young boy? I don't know if you know, he was not just abused, he was tortured. Yeah. And the things that happened to him are unconscionable. Yeah, it's wrong. Just wrong. And he wasn't unique. We had two that have followed him just a couple years after. We're still fighting to get some remedy to that situation, to hold people accountable. Because in Gabriel Fernandez's case, folks, it wasn't like people weren't reporting the tragic circumstances this kid was going through. It just wasn't followed up on, right? And that's unconscionable. It's really not okay. We don't have child death reviews. We're the only state, back in 2008 when things got nasty, they had to do budget cuts, understandable. Money was gone. And so you had to tighten the belt. And so one of the things they cut was the child death review panels here in the state of California. We're the only ones that don't. And so I'm trying to get that to come back and push back on it. It's beyond me sometimes, the politics that exist in this state. But it doesn't keep us from stopping. We're not going to stop. We're going to keep going forever and ever and ever until it actually happens. And it's something that I consider to be a high priority for us. How many kids do you think that are in this kind of foster care situation that die under foster care through abusive circumstances? How many do you think in a year's time?
Probably 100 or 1,000.
Thank God it's not that. It's 100 though. That's still alarming to me. 100 children losing their lives.
Is that statewide?
Yes, that's statewide. On the average, it's about 100.
And what's our
So you figure that's about, I don't know, but a couple every week.
How many are total in foster care right now in the state?
I can't give you that number. I don't know, but it's quite high.
Yeah.
Now, is this?
I think it's like 60,000, something like that. I think that's close to the number.
Yeah.
So these children that are dying, or are they being abused, or are they kind of like
Yes.
car accidents, or
No,
are they, you know?
they're abusive circumstances.
Physical as well as starvation.
Yep. All the above. All the above. I mean, if you know much about the Gabriel Fernandez thing, I mean, there's Netflix, right? If you have the heart to make it through every episode, it's really, really a heartbreaker, I will tell you. But it's all factual. It's all very, very factual. And the things that they did to that young boy, I mean, can you imagine shooting your child in the face with a BB gun? That's just one of the things, but it's so disheartening. And the kids still, he was a soft, loving, even though he got beat up and all these things, he still had a very loving attitude towards his peers at school. And he was still beloved by everybody who knew him. Hard to imagine.
Why is there not independent?
I'm so sorry, we can't do questions from the floor right now, he's got to think through that, and then we've got staff. Thank you.
Anyways, I think you all understand where I'm coming from, and I think I have everybody's heart in here. It doesn't matter what party you're from at all. Everybody has a heart for young people, and we're trying to make things better. One of the things we just recently pushed was and it's still in the process this year. Use of force and trust with law enforcement has been something. We all know the big tragedy that happened just a little over a year ago with George Floyd, and there was waning trust that resulted because of that betrayal of trust. It was so horrendous, and there's been some subsequent tragedies in the law enforcement arena. And having worn the badge before, I know that trust is sought after by every law enforcement agency because they can't do their job if people don't trust them. So one of the things that we've done is there's been several tragedies that does everybody here know what a taser is? Yeah. You guys probably are not wearing one. Oh yeah, you are. He's got one right there. The yellow thing. And basically what it is it zaps you and paralyzes you for about 4 seconds or so, something 5 seconds. And it's usually a very combative person that you utilize that against. Well, unfortunately, there's a practice in some law enforcement circles called stacking, which means that the taser is placed in a position on the same side as the firearm. And unfortunately, there have been a couple of times where errantly the officer grabbed their firearm instead of the taser and fatally shot the person unintentionally. And in order to prevent that, our agencies always have this policy, but our policy that we're trying to make statewide is to make sure that the taser's on the other side of the firearm, opposite side. In order so we can prevent these kinds of tragedies. Because if you have one, it's too many, right? I mean, and that's a final mistake. And we believe that will prevent. Because here's what happens in law enforcement, when you have a high energy situation, you don't really think, you react. And you react to your training. And when your training is to draw, right, there's a very subtle difference if you stack that less lethal use of force instrument. And so we believe that this is a responsible thing to do that will protect everyone, including law enforcement and the public. And it's moving forward with no opposition right now. So also very, very proud of that. There's a couple more, but I'm gonna stop there. Because I don't want to be, again, this is not the Tom Lackey show. This is the interaction piece, and I've got a bunch of questions here, so I'll try to address them as best I can. When are gas prices going down? We would all love the answer to that question. But here's an important piece that you should be aware of, is that many of us who are in the legislature are fighting to relax the gas tax. And we have some other proposals that the governor has hinted towards taking some kind of intervention, but hinting doesn't get it done, right? People are paying it now. And we have this budget surplus that's huge. It's enormous. It's anywhere between 60 billion and 90 billion, not million, billion dollars. And guess whose money that is? It's from you. Or it's from businesses, or it's from somebody that's earned that money, that's surrendered it to government. And a surplus means that we have excess. So why, I don't think many of you are enjoying those kinds of excesses. Are you surpluses in your house? On the income side? So why don't we be sharing some of these surplus circumstances with you? Because there's a number of forces. It's not just because of taxes that it's high. But I don't know about you, but if you listen to the radio and the television, they talk about the national average, we're about $1 beyond that. Those are taxes. Those are things that we can do something about. And I'm telling you, when you live in a rural atmosphere and a commuter atmosphere, which we do in this district, we have 60 to 80,000 people who commute every day. That commute is not a 10-mile commute. Some of you, if you're lucky, but most of you, if you're going down in the Los Angeles area, that's 100 miles round trip. And depending on what kind of car you have, that's a lot of money, and that's a big increase to your budget. And it may be drowning you out. And the point of the matter is, people who are making these decisions don't have those same challenges, right? And their focus is a little bit different. Their focus is noble. It's noble to be very concerned about environment and preserving our environment and the things that we enjoy in the environment, but we need to balance, because we're part of the environment too. And that's also needs to be in consideration. We can't drown out people's only way to get from one point to another through this circumstance of unaffordable travel. So I belong to a group called the Problem Solvers Caucus, and it's a bicameral, bipartisan group of people that try to cut through some of the other pressures. And we made a proposal just last week about making sure that the consumer got the benefit of a 52-cent per gallon discount. And that way, it had to be at the pump so that the companies couldn't swallow up any of that profit, and that it went straight to you folks. And we made the governor chew on that for a little bit, and the leaders of both houses, and they're very uncomfortable because it's something that needs to happen. So some of us are actually working very, very diligently to try to bring remedy, because it's a legitimate issue. And it's something that needs to happen soon. Not just keep talking about it, and not just keep bantering it back and forth and, you know, waving it in your face like, well, this is coming, so you guys just hang in there, because that's what they do. And it's annoying. And know that there are those of us who are fighting right now to get it to be immediate. And we'll see what they say. We'll keep pushing. Okay, here's a fun one. What things going on with Roe versus Wade going on? California has invited people from other states to come here for their abortions. The debate is the women's right to choose with her body. Society focuses on reproduction. Sorry, I can't read your writing here, and it's probably me, but not you. Anything regarding the right to choose or have hysterectomy, why is that? Okay, I don't need to read your whole question. I know the impetus behind it. Roe versus Wade is going to be ruled upon here very, very soon. And we had the leak that indicated that the prior position was that it looks like it's going to be overturned. That will not change in California, because Roe versus Wade basically turns that decision-making over to the states to make the decision, because it's not addressed in the Constitution if you support that Roe versus Wade deserves to be overturned. That's going to make things interesting in California, because there's already legislation that's already being proposed that assures that the right to an abortion will continue in the state of California. That's not going to be threatened here. But the fact that they're trying to invite people from other states here. I think that that's probably going to be the movement. In case you want to know where I am personally, I'm a right to life person. It's easy for me to say that, I'm a man, but that shouldn't discount for this very reason. I'm going to tell you one of the very personal reasons why I'm a right to life. It's not only part of my faith, that's part of it also, but it's also the fact that I'm an adopted parent. Yeah. I wouldn't be a parent if I did not have this circumstance that I had two mothers who had unplanned pregnancies. They were both teens and courageously carried their pregnancy to term, knowing full well that they were going to place that child into our care. I'm very thankful for that. And so I would not have been a father had that not taken place. And I just feel that life is super sacred, and I feel that it's a very private decision, so I understand the delicate nature of what we're talking about here, and I respect people that have a different viewpoint on this. I don't think that it's my position to shout you down and make you feel ashamed. I feel that we'll all be judged at some time in our life about our decision making. And that's between us and our Maker, if you even believe that. I truly do. But nonetheless, I think that we sometimes beat each other up and needlessly. And I think we need to be respectful of everyone when it comes to this. But I think you can still be principled and fight for what you believe in without being mean-spirited and being ugly. And I hope that we'll have that very vigorous debate, for a better term. The numbers are clearly in the favor of the right to choose, and that's just the way it is. And I just pray that when the decision comes, that people would make the other decision. That's just my hope. And I think I have the right to hope that. And that's where I stand on this very delicate issue. And again, I think we need to be very respectful because I think it's a very delicate discussion piece. Why don't we have a bank in Rosamond? Okay. Well, because you don't have an investor, quite honestly. You don't have somebody that is willing to take the risk here, and I find that to be deplorable. Because you have plenty of income here, you have plenty of demand for it, and I'm very, very sorry that you don't. I mean, Bourne has a credit union. Do you have credit unions here?
Sorry to interrupt. Do we even know why the bank that we had left?
I don't know why. They didn't share that with me.
Regulated. Yeah.
And I think that it's quite disgusting, truthfully. I don't know the economics to it. I'm not a business major, right? I mean, that's not my strength. And we will continue to try to advocate for you. And that's really all I can do, is tell the people, the investors, how I've known this community most of my life. I mean, even in Boron, we engage with Rosamond athletically all the time. And we come here and we have a friendly relationship because we beat you all the time. I knew that was the wrong thing to say. So, that's probably not even true anymore, but no, it's a great rivalry, and no, this is a great community here, and I'm very, very sorry that you don't have what you deserve to have. I mean, that's one of the basic necessities in life, and I'm sorry that you don't. And I don't think it's something it's not anything to be ashamed of, but it's something we need to work for. And I will do everything, if you can tell me anything I can do to help you guys advocate, I'm all in to try to help. And let me know if there's a way we can partner. Okay, the roads here in Rosamond, why are they putting oil top to it? and not doing a resurface. This isn't going to last. Do we have anybody from the county here? Anybody? Anybody from Kern County Department of Works? That's really the people that make most of those decisions. Of course, Caltrans, and you've had to fight that very, very troublesome connection to Mojave here. How long has that lasted? It seems like forever. It's been a long time.
It's almost a year.
And why the Jersey wall's still there, I really don't know. It seems like, pardon me?
Punch list work.
Okay,
Efficiencies and the work have to be correct.
okay. Because it seems like it's looking good to me. So they're gonna be very, very close. But it's really a good question. It's all a matter of budgeting. And I wish someone from the Department of Works was here to explain that to you. But keep hounding your county supervisor. Zach Scribner, I think, is the guy, right? And, yeah, rattle his cage, man. And tell him that we'd like something a little better. And, yeah, that's the answer to that. I don't mean to kiss it off, but that's really, we don't really have any control over it, truthfully.
We're working on the letter right now to the new, director of public works, outlining areas that we believe in Rosamond need priority attention.
That's a good idea.
And we know that several places in the city or in the town here that they're putting a slurry seal down, and that really is just like food coloring is all it is, so it doesn't really repair anything. So we're bringing that back to their attention, also saying, that sure looks pretty, but it's not getting the job done.
And it's expensive too,
Yeah.
right? And so, yeah. Very good, thank you for adding that. What will be done about semi-auto firearms? I would tell you that there's a very, very anti-gun atmosphere. And I wish that the same appetite for anti-behavior, aberrant behavior with a gun would be in existence. The focus is on the gun instead of the behavior behind the gun. That's why I don't like to use the term gun violence. It's behavior, it's violence with a gun. It really should be the term, but as you can see, what they've done, they're even trying to regulate ammunition. So that's another backdoor to those who are responsible with weapons. They would like to just see weapons be done away with, period. And we have this pesky thing called the Second Amendment, and it's in our Constitution until they pull it out of there. They're really trying to dance around it though, and they're very skilled at doing so when they make the rules. You could say that it's really already abused. I mean, your ability to get a permit is also very, it's not, don't move to LA County, guys, because it's a lot harder there to get a permit than it is here in Kern County. I think they're pretty reasonable here, as far as I've heard, but LA County, it's almost costly to get one. So anyways, know that I am a believer in the Second Amendment. I believe that we should be really regulating and focus on misconduct with the gun. Because I think that I carried a gun by my side for 28 years that prevented violence. And it can actually have that aspect as well. And I'm very thankful for that weapon, that I never had to use it in fear of my life. But it was there, and I'm thankful it was there in case someone was to take me on in that very detrimental situation. So it can actually have a benefit, and I think for home protection, responsible. I mean, you have to make sure, because we have a lot of this mental illness, this is where it gets dicey. When you start talking about people that have difficulty managing their behavior. Again, behavior is the key. If you can prove to be responsible and have no reason not to think that you would be responsible, then I'm all for allowing people to bear arms. That's what the Constitution says. Could you ask the fire chief to comment about the fires? Okay, Fire Chief, have you comment about the fire?
Evening, everyone. Good that Chief Bill's here. So I'm taking it your, the question about the fire yesterday, the hollow incident. So, yeah, so we had a pretty large, significant incident out there yesterday. Pulled quite a bit of resources, so in all, we ended up.
Exactly what's that?
The hollow, it's off Hobble, it's off 20th, Arbel. So Arbel and 20th. Yeah, so, about 12 pieces of equipment, so we had assistance from LA County, had an engine out of Cal City came, and then we requested a couple engines off of Edwards. Base come to assist with us. County-wise, we were super busy yesterday with several vegetation fires. Anybody that traveled 58 yesterday, it was pretty well locked down, couldn't be a class in that portion. So that fire was about a 2-acre facility, a significant amount of trailers on it. Looked like they had been breaking those trailers apart, old office trailers, and then the wind was blowing. So crews did as much as they could to keep it inside that, but we had a significant loss of everything that was on that property as the wind was blowing it through each one of the trailers there throughout that time frame. So, that's pretty much what happened with that fire when it took off. I know we posted a few of the pictures that we got from there. Crews did a good job of trying to limit any harm to anybody that was there and anybody that was on the site at the time. Fire's still under investigation. So that's the report I can tell you for that part of it, and that's where we're at there.
There was no injuries, right? Everybody got
As
out?
far as we know, there was no injuries. We did spend a lot of time researching all through all the trailers that were there that did burn down, trying to confirm and reconfirm that there was no injuries in those or fatalities. But, you know, with the wind and the vegetation and just how old they were, and the state of most of them were vacant buildings. There was one resident on site that was an older, what we believe should have been vacant. Had resident individuals living there.
So are the mobile homes being lived in, do we know?
No. Some of them, I think,
Yes,
were.
they are.
So part of that is whether they were, what my understanding was, they were there with permission, but there was quite a few people that were living from that site. Part of that portion, as we deal with homelessness in our communities and throughout that, these are areas that we're continuing to look and for our part, working with the county and the homeless collaborative, trying to come up with ideas how to help with the homelessness and how it's affecting us. So for us, just in the last 2 months, countywide, 43% of all the fires in the county have been some homeless connection to them, and that's countywide. And so we've been specifically looking at those statistics lately and giving those to the collaborative and to help develop different ways that we can help those with behavioral issues, mental status, and substance abuse. And so really that's where we're at, trying to relocate and help them find areas for them to live. That's part of the county. And so they're looking at all kinds of different options to clean those vacant sites, and that's some of the things that we're working on countywide. It's just a slow process, and we're really trying to find that best plan that will work in our communities and help us throughout the county.
Thank you, it's very good information. Any other? I'm not supposed to open it up to the crowd.
For the supposed arsonists in town, I know we have several fires that are under investigation. I know they have, our arson unit is working on it in weeks, and so once we come up to a conclusion of that, then we'll release that.
Still trying to find something. I'll just pull the next one. Given the state is pushing zoning changes to accommodate low-income housing, how are local authorities prepared to increase reliance on infrastructure? Mention how to police and increase in crime, our county's already understaffed. A lot of the zoning circumstances have more to do with, urban environments than they do, rural circumstances. I can look to you. Apparently you have some zoning issues that are coming up here locally too that are controversial. Am I right on that?
That is correct.
And, maybe you could give us an update on that at all? I mean, is there anything you want to say to that?
It's still very fresh, but it's, basically in the area between C Street, out to Sierra Highway, on the south side of Rosamond Boulevard down to about Green Avenue. There's quite a few properties in there that the county is, seeking to change the zoning for to prevent those. The opportunity for higher density residential. A lot of those properties are R1, R2, or agricultural. Want to convert it to R3, density housing and stuff like that. Basically means close to 2,000 residents will be moving into that area if they were to build a large residential structure there.
Okay.
There is genuine concern about whether we have the water, we have the infrastructure. We certainly don't have the roadways to support that kind of thing. The planning commission on the 26th of May will be taking those zoning changes under consideration, for passing on to the board of supervisors. It is driven in part by the state of California, because of making affordable housing, those kind of things.
Well, that's a very complicated thing. I know that, housing situation and affordable housing, what's affordable anymore? Right, I mean, it's really becoming so awful, and we gotta figure out a way to start construction, right? But here, our problem out here in the desert is water. And, we have a lot of water issues, and some of the requirements that they're making on the quality of the water can be even debatable, right? I mean, none of us want pollutants in our water, but what they consider pollutants is debatable. And, especially when you live out here, we have a lot of sediments in our water. And the kind of sediments, it can become debatable because they can create these artificial circumstances that make you refine it. And these are standards that exist nowhere else in the world. And yeah, it becomes a problem. And it seems like anytime when you increase density, it becomes controversial, right? Because especially when you live in an area that's pretty rural, and to require densities in a rural atmosphere, it seems like too the water requirement might bring on some CEQA requirements that might be a problem.
The planning department is saying that it doesn't qualify or does not need to go through the environmental review process.
Isn't that handy?
Which,
We know the CEQA is a weapon, right? I mean, it's become a weapon. And when they want it, or if they don't like the project, then they bring in the requirements. If they want the project, they waive it. And look at these big stadiums that they build. The very first thing they do is get the state to waive the secret requirements. And, yeah. I understand your frustration, and it's a legitimate frustration, and know that I'm very aware of the realities that come with growth. And Rosamond's grown quite a bit. I don't know what the actual numbers are, but I'm not asleep when I come through there, and I notice that there's just a lot of, and guess what's bringing that growth is affordability, right? Kern County is a lot more affordable than LA County, and be thankful for that. But I'm not so sure that all the growth is welcome. And, because sometimes LA, there's some things with the LA culture that really don't rest well with the culture out here. And, that's just reality. And so we have to kind of adapt, and we have to try to be kind to each other and be receptive and try to make everybody feel like they're welcome. But if their habits are destructive, right, that's not to be tolerated, right? And we should make sure that we tell them that if they want to be part of our community, we welcome them, but we want them to be productive members of our community.
How can we do that with 2 sheriffs?
Pardon me?
I've never seen so many more sheriffs than yesterday when they were fighting a fire. There was 8 cars over there. 8 sheriff's cars hasn't been in town in years.
Since the main station left.
Pops up now.
Yeah.
But they popped up, put a fire all of a sudden.
Well,
We get crime in town, there's no support. We can't fight it, we can't call, we can't notify anybody, there's nobody there. You call 911 in the middle of the night, it may be 3 or 4 hours.
You want to defend yourself there, deputy?
So on that,
He knows it's true.
oh no,
I don't, I just.
And I understand, we're short, but,
short staffing is obviously
Yeah.
no secret by any means. With that said, so I'm obviously Sergeant Miller, so I'm actually the attachment substation sergeant. Sergeant Smith, who usually comes to like RMAC meetings and stuff like that, he's out of town for training. One thing I will address, and I don't know what's already been said, I won't say too much about it, but the sheriff and the sheriff's office are taking a very vested interest in the township of Rosamond. They're actually, I've seen this plan myself, we're actually purchasing a building here to have a substation back in Rosamond. So I started my career here about 12 years ago, and we were still back on Sierra Highway, when we were there. You know, we obviously left, we were over off 35th, the lease was up on that, so it's been decided we didn't renew that lease. They're not gonna lease a new building here, in Rosamond. We're actually sounds like they're gonna purchase a building and have essentially a substation, just like you would in Tehachapi or Mojave, to be able to have that visible presence, you know, to have somewhere for the deputies, you know, that are down here, to park, you know, give them that, you know, how it used to be when I was here 12 years ago, where you go to the substation, you know, more visible, you're driving around more, it gives them somewhere to go, gives the public somewhere to come and talk to, whether it's, you know, the clerk out's there Monday to Friday, or the sergeant is there Monday to Friday, or the deputy that may be there. Obviously, with that said, it's not something that's gonna happen overnight. We obviously know that there are issues, and we're doing everything we can, in our, you know, constraints, budgetary and staffing wise, to, you know, properly address those concerns. And like I said, I don't know what's already been, you know, RMAC meetings, I don't attend those down here generally for this area, but, I know that's something, like I said, that's in the works. I know they were looking at a couple different buildings, I don't know which one's necessarily been decided on yet, but that might be something that might be addressed at the next RMAC meeting. So, it's definitely something coming, so hopefully that'll help and, you know, get some bodies down here and, you know, help address some of the crime concerns.
there's a building right in the middle of town, Rosamond Community Service District. Been unused for a long time.
Hire more deputies, is that an issue?
Law enforcement in general is down across the board. It's not just the sheriff's office in, you know, Kern County. Law enforcement in general across the United States is just down number-wise. So it's not just, you know, we may be hurting a little bit more than some other agencies, but this is a national thing, not just, you know, a problem here in Kern County.
It's something about you guys can kind of raise the recruitment incentives. There's a lot of deputies in LA County that want to come up here, but.
I know there's talk, there's been talk, and it's been posted in the news of trying to get some LA counties to lateral up here because of a lot of the vaccine mandates and stuff in LA County. That's way above my pay grade. But I know there has been a lot of talks like that. We did get some stuff in our contract probably about a year ago. Again, that's not something I deal with on a daily basis, so that's not something I might not, you know, be best suited to answer that question.
Okay. There's a question here, do you have internship opportunities for new college graduates? We always have that. So we would be happy to entertain, if you're in that situation or know somebody that's in that situation, please have them contact our office. We've had some really successful, partnerships with internships. I'm gonna respect everybody's time. It's Friday night, and, I hope that you figured that this was worth your time. If I didn't get to your question, what we're gonna ask is that you give us your email, and we will answer your question best we can. Everybody is here, and our hour is, it goes by quick. And we're very thankful that it goes by quick, because that means it wasn't nasty. I would tell you that there's a reason why I call them coffees, is it sounds calmer. As I try to be calm. I don't blame people for being upset. I really don't, especially right now. There's just so much to be frustrated over when it comes to government circumstances, right? Public policy is a lot to blame for some of the travesties that we're wrestling with. And I'm on your side, and I'm fighting for you, and I'm proud to be in a position, but, and know that I'll do what I can. But I don't give false promises, right? I don't. If I can't do it, I'll just tell you, I'm doing my best, but I don't give up either. I would tell you, here's my successes that I've had here, as a legislature. Most of them take multiple years. And that's ridiculous, but it's real. That's how it is. They say no, 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 okay. That's kind of how it goes. No, 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 okay. And you just have to weather the no's. A lot of people just quit the first or second no. I don't. I keep pushing. And it does work. It's very frustrating when you're on the waiting end of that yes, and I can't explain why it's that way, but it really is that way. And I'm very, very proud to represent all of you, and I hope to be able to continue. We'll see what happens. That's a whole nother thing I can't talk about, because, yeah, I can't talk about campaign crap. That's what it is, man. I'll just let it go at that.
Can I give you one? The lady gave it to me. She said, because they would tell me what I was gonna do was and she sent me this little thing and said, impossible, it's not a declaration, it's a guarantee. Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. Well, thank you all for being here. And that's part of the problem, is that people are so frustrated, they feel like they become cynical. You're just like, it doesn't matter anymore. It really does matter. It does matter, and some of the elections, we have a congressman that represents a part of my district down there that won by 300 votes out of hundreds, over 100,000, right? So it does matter. Small communities make a difference. And so don't ever believe that your vote doesn't count, because it really does. And I hope that you'll be an example, and any friends that you have, any family you have, you'll be encouraging them to participate, even if they disagree with you. That's kind of an awkward thing to do. Some of my crazy friends, I don't want to push them too hard. Right? That's kind of how it is. But in all truth, that's really what makes our communities vibrant, is when we have total engagement. And I hope that you'll trust in our system, because it's the best in the world by far. I think that we do some goofy things, but we usually learn from our goofy aspects. And I think you're going to see some changes, because things are getting worse, and a lot of it is it's needless. It really is. It's because of stupid decisions that are being made by those who are trusting in power. So, thank you all for coming tonight. And again, if you have a question that I failed to address to you, we will respond. And thank you all for believing. Keep it going, and I'm proud to represent you, and we'll see if I get to continue.
Also, I just want to say, if anybody needs the information to the office, I'll be here with the business cards. So if you have any other concerns or anything else, if you didn't get a chance, then you can go ahead and email us. Okay, and then just have it, just to have it, if you ever need us.
And then one more question, is anybody here from the Wayside Cafe? We thought maybe they were gonna be here for a certain presentation, but that's okay.
We'll take care of it.
Yep.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
I'll be hanging with you.
I'm going to keep the live going just to see if maybe anybody wants to talk to me. So stay tuned. If not, I'll talk to you all later. Thank you so much for those of you that have been watching and for your comments. I appreciate that as well. And anyhow, this is Democracy in Action, where we get to actually talk to our elected officials. So first one that I've seen with Tom Lackey. So it's been interesting. Again, thanks for watching and thank you for your comments. And I'm just going to let the live stream go for a little while longer in hopes that we might be able to talk to somebody. I got a question for you. I heard that we don't have much of a fire department presence here in Rosamond. Is that true?
So we have a fire station here, and we've had it here for many years. So we do have a presence here. So this is one of the areas that we want to increase the staffing, just because it's grown over the years. So that's what we're looking at. So part of that is we're actively, we feel like we have a good opportunity to get a safer grant from federal government, which will help us staff and increase our staffing levels. So one of the benefits of that is a squad that we put out here and the second unit at that station to increase the staffing.
Yeah, because I live up on north of near the Speedster area, and yeah, there's no water there. Really
we
depend
bring
on
our own water,
yeah.
but water's always tough out here. It's tough in the desert in general, and then pretty much all the rural communities. So,
yeah, definitely.
So for that, we have a water tender. That's a pretty well developed fire right there.
Yeah, it was out here.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't even let me pull hose. I mean, come on, no fun.
Do we have volunteers anymore, or do they all have to be, hired, permanent type,
Yeah, so
trained?
We don't have volunteers anymore, and really the reason is some of the liability-wise, they need almost exactly the same training as we do, and to keep them up and running. So we've just hired instead. So that's one of the volunteer programs. Very few in California volunteer programs. There's still some. It's not cost efficient. Like communities have tried to get their own volunteer together programs, but there's so much cost for the community.
Yeah. Now you all are over by 35th Street, you're in that area?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the actual street the station's on.
I think it was near.
I just drive to it.
Okay. But that's near where the substation for the police was,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So they're no longer there?
So
We
the
just moved into this
substation's
area
on
a few
fire.
years ago.
Yeah, so the substation hasn't been there for a couple of years. When the lease came up, but, so I'd heard the same plan as the deputy officer they talked about it. They were planning on building or buying, purchasing, getting a better place.
Yeah, well, I hope that definitely goes through, because we've had some break-ins up near my area, and just like the other gentleman said, they didn't come out. And then when the burglars were leaving, we called again, and they're like, well, let us know which way they're going.
Yeah, and that's actually across the county. Like I live in Kernville, in the lake area, and so same thing. We have about the same coverage. So you don't have we're all in these rural communities, and that's where we're at. Hiring, he was talking about just finding recruiting. It's getting tougher and tougher. The interesting thing is even tougher for us. It's getting it's a different generation. They don't want to be a firefighter.
Well, when I was going through school, there were like half a dozen at least in my classes, guys that were old enough to volunteer. They carried those pagers proudly, and oh, sorry, gotta go. And I'm sure that helped and encouraged them.
You just see it a little less. Like just coming out of high school, they don't want to. We're actively trying to figure out what do we need to do different recruiting-wise.
I heard it was actually tough to get into it too, because my cousin-in-law's husband, he just went through, and he did get hired on somewhere within Kern County here, but he was on pins and needles as to whether or not he would find a position up here.
It's getting a little bit easier.
Okay.
When I tested, there was 4,000 or 5,000 people tested. When I took the test, and I worked for service, but I had to take the same test for everybody else. We just gave a test, and we had 600 people apply. That's it.
Wow. So that's not a lot.
All you had to be was 18 and a high school diploma. Nothing else. And we got 600. So
to fill how many positions?
And we only had 300 pass the test.
Wow, okay.
So you had 600 and half of them pass the test, which was...
Even though you can grow your own right here in your yard, I don't, but, and I was talking to a neighbor about this today, and I get
So how many positions did you have open?
So we're going to hire probably over 100 off there in the next
Okay. So it's just a matter of that you've got fewer applicants to pick the best, the cream of the crop from.
That's what it is. At least we got that.
I'll give you a quick synopsis.
Problem is, we're not as well paid as if you're in LA County. Other places, so we got plenty that come through and just take every test. So you have
like beavers
see what those guys. We're really always looking for the guys that are local.
Yeah, that statistic you gave about 43% of the fires in this county being caused by homeless. That's insane.
The last 2 months.
I call my
Wow.
local.
2 months ago, we made it a requirement when our captains made the report to whether there was homelessness involved, the suspicion. And
So that's something new that you've been keeping track of.
so we've always had it in there, but we specifically the last 2 months we started going forward wanting that data.
And are they comparing that by county? Because for instance, I know LA County has a much higher percentage of, or I don't know about percentage, but they have a much larger homeless population
Yeah,
than Kern.
we have, as far as I know, we haven't. I haven't seen. So everybody says, oh, there's dope for the collaborative.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate. I've got. I'm on Sweet Home California on YouTube, small channel, but I appreciate you talking with me. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
That's what it is. What happens is there's just been a lot of dysfunction. There is a little bit of difficulty there. There's a disconnect that's happening that I don't know how we can break in a constructive way, right? And that's really what needs to happen. And until we figure that out, we're going to continue to be having.
I'm supposed to be good. And I don't know
There's definitely some problems.
As soon as they bring back that substation here, you notice the difference. Because the difference was no way of that one substation. People would know. So I think bringing that back, you will see a difference. So hopefully,
I think that's related to not having a bank as well. I don't know how long that's been, but
it's actually been quite a while. I can't remember the name of the, it used to be a credit. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the bank. It was right over by
I remember back, it was an issue 2014 when I first ran.
not having a bank.
Yes.
It's been a while.
Yeah, we just moved to the area about 3 years ago. So yeah, this is very unusual. I lived in a very small town in Maryland. The population within the town limits was about 4,000, and we had 5 banks. There was a major road going through it, but still 5 banks in that small of a town.
When you get my age, you don't want anybody to see you.
And I heard that there was somebody that was trying to come in a couple of years ago. I don't know what happened, how it felt.
I heard it was happening.
I don't know what happened, how it felt to the right.
The Mojave, is that mining operation in your jurisdiction?
Yeah.
Because I've been on two houses, so I've been approached by several people. One person particularly pointed out that that's what they're using to strike. They don't get pools of asphalt from that. And one person told me that the plastic layer on these pools
OSHA and MSHA monitor them pretty closely. Yes.
So you're pretty.
And my sandwiches out the,
I am. My brother was a industrial hygienist, so he worked for several mining companies to make sure they were in compliance with those standards. And they're watched pretty closely. I'm not saying that they won't try to do some underhand stuff.
Right.
But
They're saying they're going to leave some asphalt in the brakes.
I don't know how that they would get away with that.
This guy's pretty.
It's watched pretty close.
And I wouldn't even know where to go.
OSHA.
Because they come to me when I'm wearing it.
Sure. OSHA and MSHA are the two safety regulatory agencies that oversee any kind of mining, any kind of workplace hazard.
You said CEQA is the department you're talking about.
CEQA is the California Environmental Quality Act. And that's basically, it's broad, very broad. It encompasses a lot of, it's very litigious. Well, it's a requirement to make sure that any kind of project that has anything to do with any kind of building, that it adapts to all, it doesn't threaten the environment. It doesn't put an undue a burden on any kind of environmental standards, including wildlife, including water, including habitat of any nature. It's really well intended, and it's an important act to have in place. But the way that it's been utilized and manipulated, and the way it's become weaponized, is really heartbreaking. It's what it's become. It's wrong. It's wrong.
This California Act that he brought a whole.
Yeah.
I have all his information. Yeah.
The zoning situation.
Yeah.
But from what I read in this news article, a lot of this is being that's Kern County.
Affordable housing is not a new requirement. And all these requirements that the state imposes upon communities is really inexcusable.
And that's what I'm so we're talking I don't want to call it a camp in the middle of nowhere, but it's why is it put upon already existing communities almost with the hope of rebuilding a community that's being brought?
Well, they believe, and in their theory, is though that density is deserved. Density is deserved. Every community needs to just suck it up. There are people within our population that deserve this kind of housing, and that everyone else needs to get over themselves. That's it in a nutshell.
And on this note, I do apologize, but we're supposed to be out of here by 8.
That's it in a nutshell, though, and the reasonableness doesn't really carry the day. And that's the frustration.
My name's Jennifer. I have a very small YouTube channel called Sweet Home California. And if you have any time to talk with me at some point, I have so many additional questions. I'm new to California from Maryland, and just the whole jungle primary thing, and who am I supposed to be voting for, or in order to make my vote count. And also I'm going to be a poll clerk, and we've only got 2 people in my precinct. The first time I was a poll worker, we had 4 assigned and only 3 of us showed up. And now I'm going to be, this is my second time, and there's only 2 of us.
Send me your information. Right?
We got to be careful, though, because we can't really talk about campaign stuff.
No, I understand that, but just like the whole process sort of thing.
We can tell you the process.
You know, because like the whole jungle primary thing, my understanding is like, it's going to be the top 2.
It will be.
Yeah.
That's how it works here. It's not a Republican and Democrat anymore. It's top 2, whatever that is.
I've been doing campaigns slowly, if I was going to run.
All right, thank you very much.
Someplace in Kern County, you get elected.
All right, I will.
Lake County, you get.
And you're Anna?
Probably
All
on the sidewalk. That's so big.
Have you guys talked about, does the president have the office of president?
Okay, so that's it for us today. Talk to you all next time. Thank you for joining me, and thank you again all for your comments.
He's done it.
Just reviewing them here a little bit. Hello to everybody. Thank you so much again, and I'm going to end this now. God bless.
You heard about the electric tanks?
There's so much.